last summer, I grabbed the wrong board shorts when I went surfing and paddled out and realized that I had a giant hole down here. And
why would you even have shorts like that laying around?
I didn't know they ripped, and I was stuck in the water. There was no one out, thank goodness. But surf wax and down below don't mix.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
We could leave it at that. I'm sure you know the rest after that.
All right, well, let's avoid that.
I appreciate that.
Maybe we go get on a boat.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
When you walk into a cafe, what do you want to see on the menu?
The must-haves on the menu from top to bottom. You gotta have an espresso, a Americano, a cortado, a cappuccino, a latte, a mocha, and a cafe au lait. Then you gotta have your drip coffees, maybe a pour over, maybe a cold brew, and then I want something sweet. I want to see something, you know. You're gonna have your vanilla lattes and hazelnuts and syrups, all that stuff. But I want something special. I want something I haven't seen before.
So what's with the suit?
Don't worry about it. Coffee drinks. From drip to caramel lattes, these days the sheer number of options can feel a little overwhelming. But we've got to start somewhere, and I've got the perfect guy. This is Ryan Jimenez.
A seagull just landed on the front of our boat.
Holy shit. Ryan and I have been friends and colleagues for a while now, so I decided to take a trip down to Orange County to pay him a visit.
So right now we're right in the middle of Newport Harbor. This is like the main intersection.
Is there anywhere we can like pull up and get coffee from the harbor?
There's no coffee. I think everybody around here would rather be drinking alcohol than drinking a cup of coffee.
You started working in coffee in what year?
Oh, I've been in coffee now for probably 10 years.
10 years, okay. Were you drinking coffee before that?
You know, as a kid, I'd go to like AM, PM, 7-Eleven, and I'd fill up 3/4 of the drip coffee they had, and then went to that machine where you push for the mocha button or hot chocolate,
hot chocolate,
and then I would fill the rest of that. So yeah, I guess in a way it was a sweet, but you know, I was 16 drinking like the worst coffee ever.
Ryan's come a long way from drinking those makeshift mochas at 7-Eleven. These days, you'd be more likely to find him drinking a flat white at his cafe. Hola, Adios. You want to go sit?
Yeah, let's do it.
You've been in the industry for so long.
Right.
What were like the drinks you had to have on the menu? What were the essentials?
Flat white, cappuccino, macchiato.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. So, okay. Wait. I want to look at these cups because this is cappuccino.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
A flat white.
What's the difference
But basically in California, it seems like cappuccinos and flat whites are pretty much the same thing, right? A wet cap nowadays is a flat white.
Is that how you would describe it to a customer?
I tell a customer a flat white is basically a small latte. I think everybody has this general idea of what a cappuccino is. Right. So when they ask what a flat white is,
so it's like an 8-ounce latte, basically.
Basically.
Right.
I recently saw a friend's coffee shop, and he had like illustrations about all his drinks, and it was more for his staff and training and whatnot.
Oh, it was like foam, milk, espresso.
And he had every drink on there, and he had cappuccino, and in parentheses next to cappuccino, it said flat white. Most baristas are making the same drink.
Right.
I can go to any shop and order a cap and a flat white. I feel like I'm gonna get the same drink.
But here at Hola, it's not the same drink.
I think it's we try to put a touch more foam on the cap.
Okay. I know you're particular about these, so
I mean,
I've heard you get upset. I've heard you get worked up about these flat whites. Yeah. As a matter of fact,
you steam too much, you burn the sugars, and the milk's not sweet anymore. And you don't, if you steam the milk just right, you don't need to put anything else in it, right? It's perfect. Also, I want to drink my flat white right away. I don't want to sit there and be like, well, I got to wait for it to cool down. If I have to wait for it to cool down, then clearly they oversteamed it, right?
Okay, hang on. I think we might be getting a little ahead of ourselves here with all this cappuccino, flat white, foam, no foam business. I feel like we need to go back to the basics. and I think I've got a little something we can watch.
My name is Morgan, and today we're going to talk about some coffee shop menu basics. Now, when you walk into any cafe, there are probably going to be some drinks that you see everywhere you go. They can be a little bit intimidating to get into, but today we're going to make it easy. So let's start with the basics. The first category of coffee drinks we're going to talk about is, well, coffee. There are two main methods of brewed coffee that you'll see in cafes. You'll see drip coffee, and you'll also see pour-overs. Now, drip coffee is a batch brewed type of coffee. It's made in large quantities, which means when you order it, it's very easy for the barista to grab you a cup and you can get out the door quickly. Pour-overs, however, take a little bit longer. They're a manual hand brew, so that means when you order a pour-over, the barista is going to step aside and brew you a single cup of coffee from start to finish.
We'll get back to Morgan in a bit, but since she mentioned pour-overs, I thought it would be a good time to stop by Coava Coffee Roasters' flagship store in Portland, Oregon. Coava is known for their pour-over program, featuring delicious single-origin coffees from around the world. Assistant store manager Cris Ramos gave me the rundown.
We tell customers that the whole process takes around 3 or 4 minutes.
Right.
But they're always comfortable waiting.
And it's going to be really delicious, obviously, but why would they choose a pour-over over, say, a batch brew or something like that?
Pour-overs are very personalized,
right.
Very one-on-one. And I feel like most of the customers that come in want to have that interaction with baristas. They'll come over here and watch us brew, have a little conversation.
That's cool, yeah. We continued our pour-over conversation with Coava's general manager, Douglas Young. You guys have the Coava cone, which is super cool. How did that come about?
Well, I think there's 3 iterations of it. Mm-hmm. So Matt designed the first one. Matt Higgins who is the owner of the Coava Coffee. He made the first one, and the one we're using right now for service is our 3rd iteration. The cone, being metal, a lot of the oils are able to kind of seep through it, so you get more of a heavier body tasting coffee.
Was he back there welding these things together?
I think so. I think the stories were he punched each hose individually by himself and
what?
Just yeah.
When you go to a coffee shop, what are the top 5 drinks you expect to see on that menu?
Espresso, cappuccino.
Yep.
I like a drip, really good batch brew.
Drip's got to be on there.
Yeah. And at least 1 flavored drink.
Yeah, something fun, right? Something interesting.
Just, not overwhelming, not too much,
What about you? What's your top 5?
My go-to always at any kind of coffee shop, I always just get a drip coffee. I think it's the easiest way just to kind of taste the profiles of the coffees that they're serving, and in a very consistent, clean way.
Right.
So definitely that. Italianos or little buddies are always my second go-to.
So glad you said Little Buddy, because that's my drink.
No, yeah, and I just learned that Little Buddies is a Portland thing.
Yeah.
I think, which is crazy because I'm from Hawaii and I've never heard of an Italiano or a Little Buddy before.
I love seeing the Little Buddy on people's menus.
I thought people were just trying to be funny, but I guess
no, it's an actual thing,
Buddy. Yeah, Little Buddy.
It's cute. All right, Italiano, Americano, Little Buddy. I think we're ready to hear about espresso.
Now we're going to talk about the foundation of most cafe drinks. Oh, perfect timing. Thanks, Coffee Bear. This right here is a double espresso, and it's what we're going to build most of the drinks we're going to talk about today on. Espressos are brewed very differently than drip coffee. They're a very small beverage, usually ending up between 1.5 to 2 ounces, and they're brewed under very high pressure. They have very strong flavor profiles. They are sometimes an acquired taste, but once you learn to appreciate them, they're delicious. Now, because of the strong flavor, espressos are used and paired with lots of different ingredients, most commonly steamed milk. However, if you want to enjoy your espresso a little bit differently and you don't want to add milk, there is another option, and it's called the Americano. Americanos are traditionally about 2 ounces of espresso to whatever amount of water you want. They can either be iced or hot, and they're very tasty. Similar to drip coffee, you can add cream or sugar or just drink them black. Now we're kind of getting into the fun side of cafe drinks, at least I think so. We're gonna talk about combining espresso and milk. We're gonna start off small and we're gonna talk about the drinks that come in these 2 cups. We have the macchiato and we also have the cortado. Now the macchiato is served in kind of a 3-ounce cup. And again, we're beginning with a foundation of 2 ounces of espresso, which fills up most of the cup. However, afterwards you pour in a little bit of steamed milk up to the top and there you go, you have a macchiato. If you want just a little bit more milk, you can move over here to the cortado. Now, even though this looks like a larger cup, it's really only about 1 ounce larger. This is a 4-ounce beverage, and once more, you're starting off with 2 ounces of espresso. After that, you pour in about 2 ounces of steamed milk, leaving you with a 1-to-1 ratio of espresso and milk. Both of these drinks are still pretty punchy, they're espresso forward, but they're softened a little bit, and they're very, very tasty. Really, which one you order depends on how much milk you like in your coffee.
I don't know about you, but I'm ready for a latte. Let's head over to Never Coffee and chat with General Manager and all-around good guy, Aaron Walker. They offer some of my favorite milk-based coffee drinks in Portland.
This is the Oregon.
Oregon?
This is the midnight one.
Okay.
Could I get just a little sprinkle of that licorice pepper on top?
Do you think people are intimidated when they walk into a coffee shop?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
They don't
I'm
want to do it
intimidated
wrong,
when
right?
I go into any place that's new. You look at a menu and you're like, I don't know what those words mean.
Right.
So we try to make that experience as welcoming and as fun as possible. We have little drink cards that have a fun little story about each of the beverages, a description of the flavors and what's in them.
I know these drinks pretty well because I drink them all the time.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I still pick up the cards and look at them and look through the ingredients.
Well, I love when people take a moment and they just read the story on the card and then they laugh and I'm like, oh, you're connecting with
intention
what we
behind
give
it.
you in this space.
Yeah. So anyone can come in and feel comfortable ordering a drink.
Yeah, exactly. Well, people come into the space all the time and they're like, I want a caramel latte. And we get to say, oh, that's such a beautiful flavor. Here's what we do instead. Partake with us, you know?
And people are pretty receptive to that.
Absolutely.
They're excited to try your version of a caramel latte.
Exactly, yeah. And it's fun to be able to have the interaction with a customer of directing them to what you like about what you do.
When you walk into a cafe, what are the drinks you expect to see on a menu?
I love drinks on a menu that showcase the skill and the craft and the attention. The same way when I go into any restaurant, I want a small menu and I want to trust that what's being made is going to be awesome. You know, I have my things like espresso, Americano, cappuccino. I want to see those on your menu. I want to be able to enjoy that. I want to know if I go to a place I can get a really tasty espresso. But I also am learning to appreciate this thing of like, well, we have what you're used to, but we also have this thing that's something we care about and we want to showcase.
The next 3 drinks we're going to talk about are the cappuccino, the flat white, and the latte. What are you drinking, Coffee Bear? He might be a little bit confused because actually there are a lot of similarities between these drinks. So let's just start off with the cappuccino. The cappuccino is probably one of the most popular and also most well-known traditional espresso drinks. It comes in a cup like this, and this is about 6 ounces in total. Usually you hear a cappuccino referred to as kind of a game of thirds. So you have 1/3 of the drink that is espresso, so about 2 ounces at the bottom. Then you have another third that is steamed milk, and then another third that is that milk foam on top. So about 2 ounces of foam, 2 ounces of milk, 2 ounces of espresso. This is a very, very tasty drink, and it's a lot about the texture of the drink because as you sip it, you sip through that foam on top to the rest of the drink below. Next up, we have the flat white. This is where it gets maybe a little bit confusing because traditionally, the flat white is also about 6 ounces, so it'll be served once more in a cup like this. Usually, the texture of a flat white is a little bit more milk than it is foam, so you don't have nearly as much of that stiff foam layer on top. So when you drink it, it'll feel a little bit more like a latte than it does a cappuccino. Now speaking of lattes, we move on to this cup. This is an 8-ounce cup, and this is really where lattes start. However, they can get as big as you want them to. You'll see anywhere from an 8-ounce latte to maybe even a 32-ounce latte. Lattes always start off with that base of espresso, usually about 2 ounces, and then it's all steamed milk. Lattes are kind of fun because they're usually where you'll see a lot of creativity in coffee, whether that be the addition of syrups or spices, or really anything to kind of play around with that flavor profile and create a really, really delicious drink.
Back in sunny Southern California, and feeling a bit introspective, I met up with Breezy Church to talk about her coffee tonic menu at her shop, Coffee Drunk in Long Beach. And to join me, I invited Jeff Torres, longtime friend, business partner, and go-to for all things Southern California. Espresso tonics are not huge in the Pacific Northwest. You see them every once in a while. You see them a lot in Southern California.
Yes.
What's the story? How do we get here?
We got here because I started really enjoying tonics, but when I would go enjoy them, it was like what we call our straight up.
Just espresso and tonic then?
Just espresso and tonic,
okay.
Which is kind of where we started our menu, and then our first tonic, which we'll be rolling out in a minute, is that Long Beach lemonade. That was,
thank you.
We started offering, you could get either lemon, lime, or orange with it. I was bringing oranges from my tree at home.
Oh, cool.
Lemons from the tree at home, limes.
When you opened up and you started putting all these tonics on the menu, did you feel you had to like educate the neighborhood and like your new customers and do a lot of explaining of what these things are?
No, they were actually pretty receptive. And I never want to tell somebody no, but I'm also not going to go against what I believe is good versus bad coffee. So when I'm getting asked to make iced cappuccinos, that was our way of saying, you know, what can we do where they don't feel like we're telling them no, and we're still saying like, this is a place you can come and ask those questions, and we're not gonna scoff at you. We're gonna, as a team, figure out what we can do for you where we're not jeopardizing quality and you're also happy.
Right.
We disappointed some people when we weren't, I guess, explaining ourselves. And you know that look on the face when you put
I don't think there's a cafe in the United States that hasn't disappointed someone with the word macchiato.
Macchiato. Yeah. And I, put the first few down, those first few weeks that we opened, and you just see the eyes, and I'm like, were you looking for the caramel vanilla latte? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I can make that for you, no problem.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so we did add a little fun blurb there, but very necessary.
So when I started drinking coffee, I was probably, 13 or 14 years old, just before my parents opened their coffee shop.
Your parents?
My parents owned a coffee shop in Fresno. Yeah, I'm a lifer.
You're a lifer.
So how about you guys? Where did you guys start in your coffee drinking journey?
I have you beat. I think my first sip of coffee was 6 or 7.
Okay, same.
Well, so my parents are Filipino, so instant coffee is like the thing you drank because that's what you got from the US.
Yeah.
And that's all like the staple goods with all like the canned spam and everything. So you take, pandesal, which is like a little breakfast bread, and you literally like put butter on it and dip it in the coffee and eat it dipped.
Oh my.
So and then you start sipping it and you get older, you have it more and more. And then I hit junior high right about when Friends came out. So it was just like coffee shop culture.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I was looking for that. Are we still on for 6 tonight? Great. Okay, I have to talk to them about mochas. Hi. Let's talk about mochas. Mochas are one of the gateway drinks into espresso beverages. They're also kind of fun because they're one of the few syrup-to drinks that has its own name assigned to it. Mochas are going to start off with a base very similar to a latte. You have your espresso, and then you have your steamed milk, but you also have a syrup, and that syrup is very specifically chocolate. Usually it'll be a kind of semi-sweet chocolate, and it'll be added in and stirred into that espresso, meaning that your final beverage is going to be something that is lightly sweet, it is chocolatey, it is rich, and it's very, very delicious. Now, we've covered pretty much all the basic cafe drinks you'll find on a menu. However, there are always some odds and ends at the bottom depending on what shop you go to. One you'll pretty frequently see is called the Café au lait. The Café au lait's build is pretty simple. It's about 2/3 drip coffee with 1/3 of steamed milk on top. So if you're someone who prefers the flavor of drip coffee over espresso, A cafe au lait is a nice way to add some sweetness and some texture to your coffee without going all the way over to the latte side. They're very tasty drinks and pretty much any cafe can make them for you.
That's enough of the coffee basics. Let's party. I ended my day at Republica, where Madison Freitas invited me to try some coffee cocktails. And it's no fun drinking alone, so I convinced writer and cafe owner Seiji Nanbu and Republica's own pastry chef Olivia Bartruff to join me. I can sort of think through how I would develop a latte or something like that, but like, to me, adding alcohol is a whole other thing. So how do you approach, pairing coffee and alcohol together?
I think the biggest thing that goes wrong is a lot of people don't do that at all. Like, I think a lot of the time people are just like...
They shy away.
Yeah, they're just like expecting coffee to like taste what coffee classically tastes like. Like when you get Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream, it's like, that's coffee flavor. And I think that's why it's so easy to do things like espresso martini. Not to say that these things taste bad also. Like, I'll drink one, I'm not about
Everyone loves espresso martini and Spanish coffees.
Right, exactly. Like anything that has like coffee and cream or just like I feel like you always know what you're getting yourself into. But I don't think that it's really common to like look at the coffee itself and kind of play on that. For example, if you have something that's brighter and lighter, like not being afraid to like do something that's exciting with it.
I see like the cold fashion and a couple other things that are becoming more popular, but
I feel like the espresso martini is making a comeback though. I've been seeing it all.
For sure.
Coffee people are hyped on an espresso martini.
But the funny thing is that espresso martinis are probably like, I think the hardest thing to like do the coffee portion well, because no bar has a good espresso machine and is using good coffee.
Right.
And so that just leads to everybody batch making a bunch of shitty espresso and then using that in an espresso martini, right?
Yeah, and it really takes like a bartender out of their normal flow, right? To have to like, to go from like, shakers and strainers to go work an espresso machine.
And you can't forget training. Training is a big part of it, and that's really time consuming. And I think that is one of the big reasons why people don't do things like that, is because it's a focus issue, right? It's like, what do you want to focus on? If you try to do both a cocktail bar and a coffee shop, like you need to be able to focus on both. And it's like, who's going to spend the time training the AM staff to do coffee, training the PM staff to do cocktails?
Right.
It really needs to be an owner or a manager who's like really passionate about both, who can actually like split the attention.
Right.
I really don't like coffee cocktails usually.
But
just waiting.
Well, but usually I think it's what you were talking about, that it's always tastes like coffee and cream and sugar.
Yeah.
Even if like a coffee tonic is still often like bitterness and it feels like it's fighting with everything.
Yeah.
And I was talking to you about this with desserts as well. It's really hard to put coffee in desserts because I've tried to use really high quality coffee. I've tried to do like a V60 pour over. I've tried to use espresso. And when you're just drinking it, you get all the complexity of the coffee itself. And then when you add sugar into it, it immediately just starts tasting like a Starbucks Frappuccino. It's really hard to get coffee.
It kind of gets a stale flavor quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's really hard to preserve that. And I think that's what really impresses me about these cocktails, is you get the complexity of the coffee.
Yeah, these are super nuanced and delicious. We've made it all the way from drip coffee to coffee cocktails, and there's so much in between to explore. So next time you're ordering a coffee drink, whether it's hot, cold, frothy and sweet, or smooth and boozy, take a moment, look at your options, and consider all the thought and hard work that goes into cafe menus. Maybe try something outside your comfort zone. You might just love it.
DoorDash instead of through the restaurant for
So you just
takeout.
paid extra money?
He just ordered takeout.
Yeah.
He was drunk.
Where'd you order it from?
Taco Bell. And I was like,